The big event this week in the past happened on July 20th, 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon. But let's focus on some less celebrated history, including a flight that laid the foundation for Apollo 11. On July 15, 1933, aviator Wiley Post took off on what would be the first solo flight around the world. Post left New York, flew to Berlin, the Soviet Union, Alaska, and Canada, making stops to repair the plane along the way, and arrived back at Floyd Bennett Field in New York, where more than 50,000 spectators stood waiting to welcome him. He had flown 15,596 miles in 7 days, 18 hours, 49 minutes in his plane, a Winnie Mae. In his day, Wiley Post was as famous as Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart. After his historic solo flight, he attempted long-distance, high-altitude flights with the help of a pressured flight suit. In August 1935, Post and fellow Oklahoman, the humorist Will Rogers, died in a plane crash. Post's body lay in state in the rotunda of the Oklahoma State Capitol building. His plane, the Winnie Mae, is in the collection of the National Air and Space Museum. On July 16, 1439, kissing is, wait for it, banned in England. Henry VI, the last Lancastrian king and subject of Shakespeare's first published play, fittingly titled Henry VI, outlawed kissing in an attempt to prevent the spread of plague. Interestingly enough, even though Henry was very religious, he wasn't targeting romantic kissing, but more specifically the ritual kissing that was common when greeting others and when performing acts of homage to your king. Henry VI had no interest in catching the plague from his courtiers, even if they were trying to honor him. Like most attempts throughout history to control human behavior, the law wasn't effective in changing long-standing habits or in stopping the spread of plague. On July 17, 1948, American pilot Gail Halvorson met a group of children in West Berlin who inspired him, which led to candy falling from the sky. At the end of World War II, Berlin, Germany was left bombed out and divided between the Allies and the Communists. To pressure the Allies to surrender West Berlin, in 1948 the Soviet Union blocked access to the city, which was surrounded by communist-controlled East Germany. The blockade left the free West Berliners hungry and destitute. The Allies stepped in, airlifting packages of food and coal to the city. But when pilot Gail Halvorson saw the suffering of the children, he wanted to do more. He said, "I get a chocolate ration, I can share it." And he knew other soldiers would do the same. And just like that, Operation Little Vittles was born. Because Halvorson told the children he would wiggle the wings of his airplane to signal them before he dropped the candy, the children called him Uncle Wiggly Wings. It was Halvorson's initiative that got the program going, and his identity was a mystery at first. But once the newspapers discovered him, candy donations began to pour in from the United States. And though Halvorson thought he might be in trouble, the Air Force encouraged his efforts. The candy drop continued until 1949 when the blockade was lifted. Halvorson said of it, "It wasn't the candy that was important. What was important was that somebody cared." On July 18, 1976, Romanian gymnast Nadia Comaneci scored the first perfect 10 in Olympic history. 14-year-old Nadia went on to receive 7 perfect 10s at the Montreal Olympics and won 3 gold medals for uneven bars, balance beam, and individual all-around, plus a bronze medal for the floor exercise and a silver for the second-place finish of the Romanian women's gymnastics team. The world was captivated by Nadia's dynamic performances, and she became a star, appearing on the covers of magazines and postage stamps. The theme song of the American soap opera The Young and the Restless was even renamed Nadia's theme. She retired from competition in 1984 and became a coach in Romania before defecting to America, where she married American gymnast Bart Connor and moved to Norman, Oklahoma. On July 19, 1595, mathematician and astronomer Johannes Kepler had an aha moment. In Kepler's day, the Ptolemaic system was still the accepted view of the universe in universities and the public mind. To refresh your memory, that's the system that put the Earth at the center of the cosmos. Kepler, however, was an outspoken supporter of the Copernican heliocentric system, the system that puts the sun at the center of the cosmos, the system that turned out to be correct. Kepler's first published scientific work was a defense of the Copernican system. Anyway, back to the epiphany that he believed answered the why of how the universe was organized. While teaching on July 19th, he drew a triangle on the blackboard with a circle around it. Then he drew another circle inside the triangle. He realized that the ratios were the same as the ratios of the orbits of Saturn and Jupiter, and he wondered if there was a mathematical geometry to the orbits of the other planets, of which there were only 6 known at the time, and he got to work to try to prove it. His theory turned out to be mainly wrong, but his scientific work became the inspiration and starting point for many scientific discoveries, including those of Sir Isaac Newton. 2 days after Nadia made Olympic history, Hank Aaron made history of his own. On July 20, 1976, baseball icon Hammerin' Hank Aaron hit his final home run while playing for the Milwaukee Brewers. It was his 755th, an all-time Major League career home run record that stood until 2007. He was 42 years old when he hit that home run and had been playing Major League Baseball for 23 years. When he retired at the end of the season, he held 11 Major League records, one of which was surpassing the legendary Babe Ruth's original record of 714 homers. Henry Louis Aaron Jr. was born in Alabama in 1934. He played in the Negro Leagues before moving to the majors, becoming the last player who played in both leagues. He made his Major League debut in 1954 with the Milwaukee Braves, just 7 years after Jackie Robinson became the first African American to play in the majors. Despite the precedent set by Robinson, Hank Aaron faced significant racism as a Major League player, especially as he approached Babe Ruth's record. After retirement, he went on to become one of baseball's first African American executives. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1982. And finally, on July 21, 1853, the state legislature of New York authorized New York City to use eminent domain to acquire more than 700 acres of land in the center of Manhattan for the purpose of constructing an exceptional park. The land was an area of swamps and rocky outcroppings that made it unfit for private development, but there were people living there. 1,600 Irish and German immigrants and a vibrant African American community were required to move. To decide what the huge park should look like, they held a landscape design competition in 1857 that was won by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux. Approximately 20,000 Irish, German, and native-born laborers were hired to build the park. For reshaping the land, more gunpowder was used than at the Battle of Gettysburg. Workers moved nearly 3 million cubic yards of soil and planted 270,000 trees and shrubs. It was named Central Park, and it was the first landscape public park in the United States.